Hi guys, good morning. This is Dan. Welcome to Engelgeist. For those of you that are new, welcome. For those of you that are returning, welcome back. For those of you that support me over on Patreon, thank you so very much. This is the daily forecast for all signs. It is available to you whenever you see it. It was originally created for Wednesday, the 16th of February, and I do have to say that tonight is a full moon in Leo, and what we do during full moons is we release. Leo is a very opulent sign. It's one of the fire signs, and I think that it's interesting that we have a full moon of releasing. And the underpinning middle week card is the Two of Wands, which is also fire element energy and about creation. When we release, we create space to then create through that Two of Wands. So keep that in mind. A bit of housekeeping rules. Please check out the drop-down menu on any of my daily videos, especially if you're new to me. It gives you information on how to contact me for a private reading. Also, where to follow me on social media if you choose to do so. I would greatly appreciate it. Leaving a question or comment on the video or hitting that thumbs up button, even if you're just a drive-by, greatly helps. Subscribe to the channel if you like the content that I create. Remember, these are broad spectrum readings for the entire collective because we share energies collectively. The moons, the tides, pandemics, politics, religion, racial experiences and inequalities, all of those things, even things like social media, affect us collectively, right? So that's similar to how this reading is it's just to make us aware of kind of what's going on around us, what we could potentially be working towards or on or looking at so that we can better make use of whatever is out there. Does that make sense? So if you're seeing this on a date that's different than the 16th of February, that's okay. The message still might be valid for you and what's going on in your life. And if it is, please take it. If it doesn't make sense, if you're watching it and you're like, no, this doesn't sound like anything going on in my life, that's okay. It doesn't mean anything's wrong or broken. You're just working on something different at this time, okay? So essentially kind of take what you need and leave the rest. And let's see what's going on in the cards. We've had some really interesting cards this week. I don't want to talk too much about them until we see what today's card is, because I don't want to bring anybody to the table through, discussion, if that makes sense. So give me one moment and I'll talk about my thoughts on the early cards of this week. Who's coming out today? We have the Lady of Fire. All right, so she is definitely Leo energy. We have this full moon in Leo tonight. The Lady of Fire is in it, and we saw her last week too. I got a little bit weepy because my dog passed away last week, and she was a Leo also. And she's very much a fiery personality. The woman, basically this is the Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands is like the Beyonce card. I say this all of the time. I love the coining that phrase because the way that I see Beyonce is she owns who she is, all aspects of herself, her sensuality, her sexuality, her power, her blackness, her everything. She is a fierce, fierce bitch. And the Queen of Wands to me is that way too. And I mean bitch in a good way. I'm not saying that in any sort of negative connotation. I mean, she knows like who she is and she owns it. And so to me, the Queen of Fire would be about that. She also has very much a connection to the spiritual realm, to outside information that isn't necessarily the norm, right? Because fire is the realm of the spirit, right? She's passionate, she's driven, she is warm, kind-hearted, and loving. But if you fuck with her, she will burn you, right? So whether you are the Queen of Fire, right? Whether you are feeling your oats and feeling like, empowered during this full moon cycle, right? Because the full moon is in Leo, which is a fire sign, which this card associates to. Basically, what I feel like this card is telling me or us is to embrace this full moon cycle, the lushness of Leo, the generosity of Leo, the grandeur of Leo, right? And allow ourselves to really give ourselves the gift of letting go of whatever it is that we need to release into the full moon cycle and let it be. Right? Sometimes we can be releasing things to let them go, to put endings to them. Other times we can be releasing things on full moons to let them go out into the universe and see if they come back to us as materialized creations. Right? So the Queen of Fire is going to be very much aware of her emotions, but also her spiritual connection to herself and how that works. She's going to be appreciative of it. She's going to be warm of it. She doesn't judge it. She doesn't judge herself. She doesn't give a shit what other people think, if that makes sense. She is sort of very much, how do I want to say this? I don't want to say self-indulgent, but she can be in a way, but in a way that serves her, that is not egoistic. It's more like just empowered, right? So I want us to feel empowered today is the message that I'm getting from this card. We need to be in touch with our emotions and with our spirit and with our desires and own them from a very sort of like feminine, nurturing, mothering kind of place, right? If there's something that we want or that we desire during this full moon cycle, Leo in its opulence will want to give it to us, will want us to feel like we deserve it. And the Queen of Fire is going to be like, indeed I do. And indeed I will use whatever means I need to within my sort of toolbox, whether it's her, you know, her intelligence or her sensuality or her, you know, sense of mischief. Sometimes I feel like very much a Queen of Wands thing for me personally in the deck, and I don't know that all tarot readers sense this about her or feel this about her, but I always feel that the Queen of Wands wants to know the rules so that she can bend them to her will, right? And not from an egoic place, just to get her needs met. She always does it from a place of what is best sort of for her, right? And that's okay because she's a queen. She's an authority. She's allowed to do that. And so she'll play by the rules, right? But she'll also make sure she knows all of the rules. And then she's got a backup plan figured out, if need be, on how to bend those rules to her bidding. Does that make sense? So yesterday's card, and this is what I was going to talk about earlier, we've seen a lot of major arcana cards this week. And we had the Fool kick off our week, right? And then we saw the High Priestess and then the Devil, all major arcana stuff. So to me, it's like if we're dealing or struggling with things that we're stuck on, secrets and wisdom within us that we're not necessarily pulling forward or not necessarily honoring, listening to, respecting, it's time to do so. The Queen of Wands is asking us to do so. Right? Underneath this, the underpinning energy of this midweek point is the Two of Wands, which is all about desire, Wands energy again, more fire on top of the Leo full moon, on top, underneath, bolstering this Queen of Wands. So it's like, what is it that you want? Right? Ask yourself. And then why is it that you don't feel like you can have it? And then stop doing that to yourself. That's kind of the Devil card that we had yesterday, is my feeling. Is like, how do I want to say this? Maybe this is only for a few specific watchers, but time is limited, guys. And I need to hear this just as much as probably the next person, but time is limited. If we don't take the risk, if we don't take the action, if we don't bend the rules a little bit, if we don't maybe put ourselves first in certain situations so that we can have the things that we want, then we're not doing ourselves a service. We're not treating ourselves like the Queen of Wands, if that makes sense. Yesterday's Oracle card was Stand Up and Fight. So I really believe these cards are trying to empower us to step up to the power of like this Leo full moon and use all of its grandeur, all of its opulence, because these are words that are associated with Leo, very much so. And connect with that power within you, and then use it to sort of steer your ship wherever you may be heading. Okay, here's the, oh my God, this is a funny Oracle card. Advice from a cat. Now, the moon is in Leo, full moon in Leo, so we're going to take advice from a cat. Leo is a cat, and look at it, he's got that like sun with the eye above him. And I love him because he's just sitting there. This is a strange card to have in here. I think this is funny. But I'm going to take it because I think it's very much in line with what's going on planetarily. Cats can be magical creatures. Anytime you lay out a tarot spread, a cat will come along. I got Sven right in the chair, napping right over there. I know he's here with me right now. He comes in here and spends most of his day in this office. And sometimes he gets locked in it and it drives me nuts because he'll be in here crying late at night. And I have to get up and let him out. but he loves to be in this very room. And I think it's because this is the reading room. This is where I do most of my readings from. And I think the cats are very spiritual. They're very connected. So let's hear what advice from a cat means. I love how he's staring us dead in the face. Like, he looks like he's just like, okay, look here, Rhonda, you need to get your shit together. All right, there are times when we all overshare and give away more information than is prudent or wise. Take a lesson from Cat's enigmatic gaze, or err on the side of being a little inscrutable and mysterious. The world we live in is larger than we may realize, and there are times when we take our safety for granted because we believe we know the people we share time and space with. But how well do we know anyone, especially those we communicate with regularly but have never actually met? Wow, that's profound. Is your trust a little blind? Are you mindful at all times, or do you occasionally let loose and behave in a manner or say something controversial or inflammatory that might become a cause of regret? Are you leaving footprints that allow others to track and trace you, to see where you've been, what you've done, and what you've said? Would a stranger's discovery leave you feeling proud or ashamed, safe or worried? Sharing is caring, and there are times when sharing our story is of great importance as it allows us to be heard and others to feel less alone. It may bring good people into our lives, it may bring great reward, but we need to show a little judicious discrimination. Be mindful of how much you share and with whom. That which is seen cannot be unseen. That which is heard cannot be unheard. That which is said cannot be unsaid. By being a little mysterious, you may save yourself from potential harm and future regret. We all have a tale to share. We might have an audience. We might also have an audience, but a wise cat does not speak without purpose, and it's spelled P-U-R-R-P-O-S-E, and never says more than what needs to be said. That, to me, also is the shrewdness of the Queen of Wands, right? Where she knows the rules and then she kind of bends them. See how her head is sort of tilted back, like she doesn't seem sad to me today. She seems a little bit like, I got a secret and I'm not telling. And so this advice from a cat also is giving me that idea of go after what you need today or what you desire, but you don't necessarily have to give everybody the game plan, right? You don't have to tell the naysayers or the ones that, oftentimes, like, hold on, let me find the grounding stone. Oftentimes, people that love me want to warn me of what could potentially happen. And that coulds or shoulds tend to scare me out of doing whatever it is that I think I want to do for fear of not, like, of exactly what they say happening to me. Whether it happens or not isn't important because we learn from the lesson even if it's a negative experience, right? But did we take on somebody else's information and utilize that as our own and then miss an opportunity to go a route that we should have gone? Do you see what I'm saying? So sometimes maybe it's better to keep a little bit to ourselves and just follow our own path of desire that reigns true to us and feels right in our heart. That would be the Queen of Wands. That would also be some of the secretness of the High Priestess that we saw earlier in the week, and the exuberance of the Fool that was the underpinning card of this early part of the week. Now we've got the Two of Wands working on where do we want to be, what do we desire, how do we want to get there. And so maybe the cat is telling us to be a little bit shrewd. Don't necessarily share out your dreams, your goals. If there's somebody around you that may care for you, but is a potential naysayer or somebody who's going to throw up roadblocks to your plans, maybe keeping it to yourself might be a good idea this day. The grounding stone for the day is nature. Nature to me always has two different meanings. There's obviously the idea of communing with nature and its processes and the healing factor that has, like getting outside, going for a walk, clearing one's brain, obviously, right? We can certainly ground in that. We can communicate what it is that we dream or what it is that we desire to nature and then allow nature to respond back to us through signs and symbols, animals, totems, breezes, the shaking of the trees, things like that happen oftentimes when I go and I sort of chat with nature. Nature will respond back to us if we're, aware enough to pay attention to the signs and symbols that it's giving us, but also our own true nature. What is our true nature within? And all of this fiery wands energy and this release of the full moon and this, advice from a cat is kind of like, okay, what's going on inside? Rhonda. You know, what is, and Rhonda's just a name I'm using, guys. Um, uh, Understanding that nature, accepting that nature puts us at an ease so that we can move forward in a way that's productive. Remember, the words that we saw this week were the first word that's the grounding stone for this week is promise. Like, you know, what are we creating for ourselves? What have we promised to ourselves? What is it that we desire, or what promises that we have within ourselves that we're maybe not maintaining or working towards, right? And then the second stone was respect. You know, our self-respect should always come first. And then yesterday's stone was our happiness, grounding in our happiness. Today's stone is nature. So understanding our true nature and appreciating that, like the Queen of Wands would, right? And then using that appreciation and our true nature, maybe keeping it to ourselves, but allowing that through the Two of Wands to create whatever it is that we need to maybe release during this full moon in Leo, and then see what comes next, what comes and fills in that space. And like I said, creation or releasing during a full moon can be about releasing a buildup of something that we've been looking towards or wanting or desiring, and just letting it, turning it over to the universe, and then waiting to see if it comes back to us in a materialized form. It doesn't have to mean that we're like splitting up or departing, or it doesn't have to be a sad release, right? It can be a release that's full of hope and possibility. You know, certainly with Leo energy, that would be more in alignment with Leo than, you know, this a sad or emotional release of something that's harming us. Does that make sense? So that is your forecast for the day, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please tune in tomorrow. Please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, like, share, comment. Please share the video out with those that can use it. It helps me to get the word out. And hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you get notified when I do go live or when daily video content goes up. And thank you so very much for watching, you guys. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy this full moon tonight and make the most of it. And I will see you all tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.